Hi guys, this is Kayla.
And this is Becky, and we're with a couple of these read.
Yes, and we have been doing a buddy read / book club read called Midnight is the Darkest Hour. The book is by Ashley Winstead. It is so good. I've finished it. So
I have not.
And we weren't supposed to finish it this week. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a discussion, but we're going to do a spoiler-free discussion. I'm going to do my best. Next week, we'll spoil it all. We'll go through it all. We'll say our thoughts. So if you haven't caught up next week, don't watch that video.
Yeah.
But you can watch this one and just sort of get an idea of where the story is going. Let me see if I can share some favorite quotes.
Yes, I mean, you have marked this book all up.
I have. It's all marked up. Let's see. Just the dialogue between Everett and Ruth, the two main characters, are, I want to say they're our love story, but like, they're our will they or won't they love story.
Yeah. Because I really want them to be the love story. I mean, they're kind of misfits in the community, and yet they found each other. And, you know, here's this guy that's so misunderstood, and he's had such a rough life, and yet his favorite thing is poetry. Mm-hmm. And he's always quoting poetry to her and at her and everything. And it's just this, they have a very special relationship. And I feel like Everett opens the world up for her, you know, and kind of gives her permission to be brave and be strong and step outside what she's been raised in her whole life.
Yes, and like part of that is she has this very strict moral sense of morality pushed on her. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, those strict morals that she's taught, those supposedly biblical morals that she's taught, she constantly sees the people teaching those morals, specifically her father,
and her mother doing
the opposite. Like, they're breaking the rules they're expecting her to adhere to.
And everybody else in the community.
Yeah. So her moral compass is, I've got to be good, I've got to be good, I've got to be good. But
this isn't good.
Yeah.
And we get to the point, we talk about justice. Mm-hmm. And I think that was one of the questions was, how do the different characters in the book define justice, and whose definition did you find the most compelling? I don't know if I can really define that right now, but I feel like Ruth and Everett both, justice is doing the right thing for the individual.
Mm-hmm. And defending for them, and I'm trying to say this without spoiling anything. I don't think I am. But for them, it is doing the right thing and defending the little man, kind of. Defending the people who are defenseless. You see that with Sam.
Yes. See, and that was another thing. And then we get into, question now, how is the idea of community used as a weapon throughout the book? Well, talk about Sam. Sam is this brilliant guy. He's graduated from high school. He's valedictorian of the class. You know, his mom is a single mom, and she's working multiple jobs to provide for him. But he's looked down upon, you know, by the popular people and everything, and you know, the leaders in the community and stuff like that. And I know they're having a car wash. Ruth sets up a car wash to try and raise the money because Sam's been accepted into Duke. And even though he's got a scholarship and everything, there's certain things he needs money for, like a couple of $1,000. And, you know, that, and she's out there, she saw the football team and the cheerleaders, they raised over $2,000 at a car wash. Well, she's doing this for Sam. Mm-hmm. And, you know, nobody's coming to have their car washed. Nothing's happening. And, of course, you know, here comes the football team and the cheerleaders and all this, and they're harassing them. And
what's interesting about that scene, so, you know, talking about community use as a weapon, like, yes, the popular kids are always weaponized in books like this.
Of course.
But her dad.
Yes.
Like, they while she's out here doing all
this group's coming from Bible study.
Yeah, while she's out here doing all this, the folks leaving her dad's church, her Bible study, come up and they're like, oh, well, your dad said for us not to give him any money.
Yes.
Like, so he's weaponizing his community to basically keep everybody in their place.
Right.
So not a good use of community.
No, not at all. And that was what was so, I don't know, that made me so angry, you know, that here's this young guy has such promise and potential, and the people in the community that can help him and should help him are not helping him. And one of the, Mr. Burchard, who was, he's supposed to be a big leader in the community and upstanding, you know, pillar of the community kind of thing. And he comes up and he talks to them, and then he says something to Sam about, yeah, you only managed to make it to a couple of vacation Bible school sessions, you know. And Sam said, I know my mom had to work and I didn't have a way. And then he has the gall to say, well, some people need to realize what's really important in this world. And I thought Everett was going to come unglued when he said that.
And he says this is the richest man in town, not as the single mom working multiple jobs to support herself and her son.
Right.
Like, so community is just played so well in this book. And you see justice in the eyes of her father as everybody is in their place. And justice in their eyes is like, no, you should be able to sort of rise in hierarchy. Like, the leadership position should go to actual leaders and not fear-mongers, which it becomes more and more evident as the book goes on, without me spoiling anything, that that's where her father is.
Yes.
He is a fear-monger. He gets popular by basically saying, you know, the devil's going to get us, and these families are bad. Like, he takes people down through his sermons, through his witch hunts, and that is how he's rose to the position of power he's in. And then you've got Ruth and Everett, who are not perfect, and you find out in the end how exactly not perfect they are.
You kind of have along the way, even from the beginning,
but they're just trying to survive in this really messed up world that their parents have created for them. And it's interesting. One thing that Ruth, I need to make sure I'm not quoting this too soon. Hold on. Okay. So one thing that Ruth says, because this book, other than just looking at justice and community, it also takes a very deep and profound look at love. And let's see, Ruth is confronted by her mother about her relationship with Everett. And this is when Ruth is 19, so there is no, like, real relationship. They're just friends. But Ruth says, you know, this is Ruth thinking, and if I could have been honest with my mother, I would have said we love like this with an all-consuming passion because our hearts had awakened to the truth of what we wanted for ourselves. The awakening itself was a miracle for those of us who had no map for love, who never once felt an emotion directed at ourselves as strong as the ones we gave to others. Which is just heartbreaking. Because if you've ever known someone, you know, we were both teachers, and we had lots of students who had hard lives.
Yes.
And if you ever knew someone who came from a family of neglect or abuse, you would see this. Like, when they would find someone to cling to, they would cling extra hard.
Yes.
Because they had no map for love. And Ruth has not been given that roadmap for love. And I just think it's one of the most beautiful lines in the book. Yes. And there are so many that I think are the most beautiful lines in the book. But her definition of love as it grows throughout this book, and her and Everett's definition of love, and just their bond as it grows, is all based on the fact that these are two kids who didn't know what love was, and they looked around and they saw people, you know, who would never give them as much love as they were giving others, and then they find each other.
Yes. And then they have that relationship, and it's wonderful. So,
and one of Everett's sweetest lines, this is the last one I'm going to quote, probably.
It's funny, since the day I found you in the swamp, I've been trying to answer, or I'm sorry, Ruth asked him, what am I to you? And he said, it's funny. Since the day I found you in the swamp, I've been trying to answer that question. I thought once that you might be the answer to the only prayer I've ever made, or my conscience, my heart beating outside my body. Sometimes I think you're a fistful of sand, and the tighter I clutch, the faster you spill. I don't know, Ruth, you're something I've never had a name for.
Oh,
And they
wow.
just, chills. Just, they cling to each other so tightly because they don't know any other love.
Right.
Because everything else has been, really for both of them, has been fear.
Yeah. I surely hope they get together at the end.
I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm not saying a word.
Don't tell me anything. But
next week is all spoilers.
yes.
So be prepared. And we will be, our next video we're putting out is going to be a voting video for what our next read will get. We had a couple of people in the comments who wanted us to read Tainted Cup, which was one of our aardvark picks. And
The Last Resort.
The Resort by Sarah Ox was one as well. So we're kind of debating which one we want to read, and we want your input, because what we would love is for everyone to get to read together.
Yes. Come join us.
Yeah. And until next time, bye guys.